We are live.
Hey!
We're live. Welcome back, everyone. We've been gone for 2 weeks. We're back. Before we go ahead in this podcast today, we are going to announce first that there will not be a podcast in 2 weeks, as I am on holiday that week, so I'm not here. There will be a podcast the week after, though. So, we are back. Today's background game is Beneath the
Funny
Wrestler.
way to say community service, but yeah.
Yeah. Look, it was only 2 murders. Maybe 3.
How bad British legal system when you get a week community service.
Well, there were
Reputable people.
They weren't nice people that I murdered.
All joking, obviously.
Obviously.
They were good people.
What?
Decent, nice.
Lie to the people. Punch. But yeah. Crap. But yeah, anyway. So, this week, I've not watched Ironheart yet. I need to watch it. I was beginning to watch the first episode earlier than I realised. My lunch break was up, so I couldn't watch it. But, yeah. Ironheart, all I've been hearing is decent things about it so far. We will address that when I come back, because I'll have watched it by then. I'm going to see the new Jurassic World movie on Saturday. So that's going to be an interesting one to discuss. I don't know what your opinions are on the Jurassic World films, Jax.
I like the Jurassic Park films and its many sequels. I probably will go and see it at some point. But the first big film I'm going to be seeing this month is Superman before anything else.
See, I'm seeing all 3 of them this month. Thankfully, because of Fantastic Four coming out in the last week of the month, I can kind of wait a week and see it when I see it the week after payday, so there is that.
Got the feeling that film's going to be in the cinemas for quite some time.
Yeah, same. That's why I'm like, I'm not too fussed about seeing that one opening. The Superman one is rare that I want to see a Superman film on opening night. Even I'll admit that.
No, but I would. There's a lot of reasons why I want to see this one, and I do think it's going to be a very good Superman film. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
The latest trailer just made me want to watch it even more, so.
I just want to see Guy Gardner doing his stuff. Pain in the arse.
Oh, yeah. Have you noticed he wasn't even he's not even using the hand motions when he's in the scene that we've seen from the trailer where he's walking and there's the basically him doing the middle finger to someone. Have you not noticed that? He's not even using.
You've got to remember there'd be 2 different trailers anyway. There'd be a red band trailer and there'd be a censored trailer.
No, but I'm about the red band one where he's doing when you see the fist come up that knocks over someone with that's like a middle finger. He's quite literally, he's not moving his hands. He's just walking through the battlefield doing it. And it's like, if that's someone who actually has control of the ring, oh god.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. It's just his willpower doing his willpower. Yeah, it's very good. It's going to be interesting to see how they play this out because they're not going for a fresh universe. They're going for a lived-in universe. Yeah. People have been doing their things for a bit.
Which, to be fair, I'm all for, because for God's sake, we've seen the origin of these characters so many goddamn times.
Yeah, we don't need that anymore, and it's going to be nice
for new characters that they're just introducing, like Hawk Girl and Hawk, because they've not really been introduced in live action before, like other than the TV shows, you know what I mean? But like on the big screen, right? Over the those sort of characters, you don't really need, like for Superman. I'm like, I don't need to see Superman crash to the earth again, and then his parents, Martha and Jonathan Kent, raising him again. You know what I mean? I don't need to see that for like the 12th time. We know how Superman is.
Unless they're doing one of the variant origin stories, and something you see is very, very key to the nation of the timeline. We don't need that anymore. One thing I would say about Hawk Girl is that in the TV, both the animated series and the live action series that involved Hawkgirl. They did do two of the origins very, very well. So you don't really need to have another. But the problem with Hawkgirl in particular is there are so many very popular different origins for that character, and how they play those origins in. You could do it 3 or 4 more times and it'd still be different.
Ow. Oh no.
Is she an alien? Is she an Egyptian priestess that's been cursed? Is it magical meteorites? Is she a metahuman? Is it all three at once? It just happened to happen? We will never know.
Oh yeah, it's one of the things about it. There's a lot of different origins with regards to a lot of characters though as well. Like,
there are a couple of really good ones though that I think we should definitely have a chance of seeing. Lanterns, to be fair, all have great origins in my opinion. It'd be nice to see a couple of those play out.
Well, we're getting a show called Lanterns.
Yeah, but that's also again. This is Hal Jordan quite late into his career because we know because there's an adult Guy Gardner within the same universe. Though it seems to be a younger John Stewart, which is interesting.
Wow, it's like
what I'm saying is that each one of them has quite a unique origin, and it would be nice to actually see those. But I don't think we're going to get those within the series. Funny enough.
No, but it'll be interesting to see.
But I would really love to see an Alan Scott heavy story, because we were kind of given hints towards getting that in Stargirl, and then what we actually got was Jade, his daughter, getting the powers, she's a very cool Green Lantern. Don't get me wrong, and the way she uses her powers differently from how differently she can use her powers from other Green Lanterns is kind of cool. But Alan Scott is a different kind of Green Lantern to all the other Green Lanterns anyway. His ring is different. It's powered slightly differently, and has its own foibles and bonuses. And yeah, so it'd be nice to see him get a full, proper origin story, because it's actually really dark and gritty and a bit nasty of a story, but quite fun. Back when DC were doing things that were still mystical and weird, and then the second age come in with more science based, where you get Barry Allen, Hal Jordan. Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, everyone knows Hal Jordan at this point. You know, he's a best pilot. He crashes into or crashes next to an alien. The ring gets passed over. Yeah. I say the others get them slightly differently for different reasons. All quite fun. Carl Rayner in particular is one, and what happens to him because he's a ring bearer is quite interesting. He apparently will be seeing Carl Rayner as well, which is kind of cool. He's a young guy. He's a comic book artist, and because of that, his constructions are incredibly wild compared to any of the others that we've had. The others use things that they know quite well, and are very similar to their previous lifestyle. John Stewart can use lots of armaments and stuff because of his military and police backgrounds. Carl Gardner will use a lot of baseball bats and hammers and spin lids and bottles and things. Hal Jordan will use lots of aeroplanes and military and naval aviator hardware.
Oh yeah, that's why we see a lot of, like in the cartoons, you see him use a jet out of the ring that just starts shooting people.
Whereas Carl Rayner will build mechs and kaijus and weird and wonderful Final Fantasy style swords and all other weird stuff like that. Because it's the stuff he can draw on paper, he can imagine it in his mind. It's very, very good.
We gave an art student the Ring of Willpower. What happened?
Yeah.
You don't want to see what he made.
Oh, I mean, this is great because like all of them, of the Earth Green Lanterns in particular, have a great connection to their willpower. It's one of the things that really worries the other Green Lanterns and the Guardians is how human will is so powerful amongst certain people, and like in the way that the will is controlled, and Hal Jordan is known as like the strongest of them. His willpower is kind of so powerful that at one point it creates its own power source for it. He creates his own ring out of nothing, and then a power source for that ring out of nothing, just out of pure will. So he's known as that. But there is a great storyline where Carl Rayner's taken out for a while, all because the villain had been going into his room at night, sneaking in and whispering in his ear while he was asleep. Or blind. You can't see. And his willpower was so strong, his ring made him blind in his sleep. It was dark. Yeah, no, let's say so. That must be a nice one to see. But we are getting a nice collection. Mr. Terrific wasn't really done the best in the Arrowverse. Unfortunately, they sort of very quickly sidelined him into just being a tech guy in the background.
Yeah,
which was a shame. So it'd be nice to actually see him doing his shit out on the field with his T-spheres. And the same goes with some of the other characters as well. So we've got some interesting villains. I mean, I know we still talk about Superman, but what is that Ultraman going to be? That is the big question at the moment. I mean, is it going to be a variation of the Superman we have now? Is it going to be part of a variation of a Superman that we've seen before? I know a lot of people, certain people are really hanging on the hopes that we're going to get Cavill back in the costume as Ultraman.
No.
I don't think so. The body build definitely doesn't look right. Yes, that can all be edited in post to throw people off in trailers. I don't think it is. But one person that could fit that costume because of his body size, Brandon Routh.
Is that the one that played?
You imagine?
You mean Superman Returns?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Not be opposed to that either, but it would be an interesting run because this guy has then played Superman in different ways. Because he played the Christopher. Because this is the thing. His film is the only one of the modern Supermans which is a direct sequel to the originals. Yep. So Superman Returns is a direct sequel to Superman 2, making the other two films after that retconned out softly. So he played Christopher Reeve's Superman. When he played Superman in the Arrowverse, he was playing Kingdom Come Superman. Which is a different one entirely again. And then if he does come back as Ultraman, yeah, I can see that. I can see that being a great link through the entire universe for themselves.
I could do it. I still wish that we get Grant Gustin back as playing the new Flash because we're going to get inevitably, just because he was legitimately, in my opinion, he has been the best person that's played the Flash.
been very, very, very good. Yes, no, I completely agree. One of the great things as well is that because they seem to be wanting to get everyone being a bit older for their roles and more worn in, Grant Gustin in 3 or 4 years' time will kind of be old enough to be actually a well-weathered Barry Allen that has done his time, and is a bit older, a bit more gruffer.
Oh yeah,
It all a bit more. And also that's fantastic because if they do that, they can once again go, look, you want to see this guy's origin? You want to see the Flash's origins? Well, technically, it's an elsewhere Flash. You can see the Flash that looks like this is origins, and you can maybe see where the thing that makes him different happened.
Yep.
Or even, mate, a smart thing would be is that you find out that if they did do it like that, turn around and say, Flash that you get in this is the Flash from the first series timeline. Because the timeline's changed so many times after.
Oh yeah.
And you could have that as a thing, and then the TV series makes it an elsewhere from the end of season 1, and canon from season 1, or season 1. All of season 1 would be canon to the film. This is all speculation.
It was season 3 you're on about when he changes the timeline, because he doesn't change the timeline until after Zoom, because they meet Killer Frost before he changes the timeline in the other Earth.
Well, no, because remember the first. Yes, I know what you mean, but the actual effects of getting rid of a young Thorne stops. The way it breaks that loop is what I'm meaning. Is that from that point there's technically a different Barry. Don't have one that is being used by Thorne anymore. Except
that in the second season, it establishes that we do already have that, because when Barry goes back in time, his own timeline still has Thorne. Thorne's just erased from that point in the timeline onwards, not prior to it.
Well, no, but yeah, but I say there's 2 different timelines running then, technically.
It's only Flashpoint in the show is the point where the timeline diverges, because that's because it's at the end of Zoom's arc when he basically kills Zoom after Zoom dies after killing his father, where Barry just can't live with it and ends up changing the timeline.
Yeah, but that was a timeline change that Barry did, that without any effect from another anyone messing with time. Remember, every time the way that it's away with a lot of his stuff is because of the paradoxes he's created. That's why his presence afterwards stays in effect, thus not destroying anything that has come before. The reason Barry calls the Flashpoint is because it was him rechanging something, and he hadn't affect the paradoxes that then get created. So yeah, technically, if you actually watch each season, they're each. I think it's for the first 3 or 4 seasons. You're technically in a different timeline from the previous one in some manner, or some variation, because something's been changed canonically. That's funny. In particular, Greg Berlanti does say that it's that first season is first and second season are technically different universes, even though characters remember shit.
Bloody hell. That one.
She's also one of the reasons why Eddie Thorne could come back for the final season. It's Cobalt Blue. That was his paradox. He was meant to actually carry on living to then have kids and then have grandkids. But that was stopped in the end of season 1.
There's also the paradox of the fact that they made an entirely new universe. Remember, halfway through this, they made a whole new universe. Why? Because we lost all the other ones.
Well, that's it. I mean, there's tons of weird, because of the way that show did play kind of fast and loose with the multiverse and stuff and time travel. It again, like I said, this is just me being a fanboy, picking up my own stories. But it'd be kind of cool to use one of those now redundant histories as an origin for a character, for a mainline character. And look, there we go. We've already given it to you. You can go watch 45 minutes of it happily.
I do love the fact that it's Jay that appears when he at the end of Flashpoint, and to help the actual Jay Garrick at the end of that, going, played by the original Flash at that point, because just going, who's the one that explains him, and then when Nora does the same thing, he explains to her the exact same way that Jay explained to him. And I'm like, I like this. This is continuity in a hell of a lot.
Yeah, there was so much good. I didn't like the lightsaber battle.
No.
That was just.
That was silly.
Me, I know the reason why they did it, and I get it. People were starting to kind of getting annoyed with just seeing some flashing lights bashing into each other, but gave them an opportunity to. I mean, what they did. That lightsaber battle, it was crappy because it was a lightsaber battle. If they had done kind of that where it was a really good fight scene where they're using their lightning in different ways, using the effects around them in different ways because they're
or zoom into slow motion and punching each other, basically, punching so fast to keep blocking each other.
Yeah, there's other ways of doing it, like showing that, like, the people around them just stopping, and then actually having a full blown brawl. A piece of, or then watching the fight from the eyes of the normal people as rocks are being flown out at Mach 10. Yeah, I mean, we got what we got. There's many reasons why we got that as well. We were lucky to get that final season.
Yep.
Because Grant Gustin did just want to leave at that point for many reasons, many understandable reasons.
Well, yeah.
It's a pity we didn't get a Cisco back in some fashion.
No. We got him back for one episode at least, which was kind of nice to see.
Yeah, but it weren't vibe.
Yeah, we never got him back with him actually getting his powers back. And realizing that there are other universes and stuff. We never got that part.
Yeah, that's kind of a shame because technically he has got his powers back as well after. But this is something that was never ever cleared up actually after the events of Crisis when he was back on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Did he still retain his power? I can't remember if they ever said that he retained his powers or they were gone.
They never mention it. Like it's that he has his powers. It's that he just can't use them because he's not in tune with the new world because of everything. Because he hasn't realized. He never realized that there was still other universe that he could travel to and shit.
Well, that was the thing. That was his. But that was that would make sense really only for his dimension, like the portal ability, like to other dimensions. But within the Earth he's in and just firing off the rays. Yeah, they should be available. But yeah, doesn't matter. It's not a universe we're going to be coming back to find out, unfortunately. So,
No.
But it was a great universe that we had a decade of. You can't argue with that. It'd be nice to see what comes out soon, though, because although we are getting Peacemaker season 2
that we know has got Guy Gardner in it.
Yep, I mean, yeah. Well, this is the big one. It's going to explain why this universe that James Gunn is in is different from the one that we saw in the previous Snyder universe of Maker. It's going to have something to do with his armament room, the universe bubble thing. He's basically his TARDIS, for want of a better word. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But I did enjoy the first season. Creature Commando season 2 hopefully is going to be fantastic. We won't be getting that for another couple of months.
Still not seen it. Haven't been able to.
I mean, yeah, where would you be able to see it? I don't know.
Nowhere in the UK at the minute.
It'd be on Channel 4 because that's where a lot of the HBO stuff is going.
You are monitoring the
Harley
chat, aren't you,
Quinn
Jax, as well, just to make sure.
Sorry?
I said you are doing your normal job of monitoring the chat as well, just in case anyone says anything.
Yes, I am here. I've got it on one of my screens. Yeah, just me. But yeah, what else is there planned out? There's nothing else planned out on DC wise. I still haven't fully watched Penguin, which was kind of didn't grab me as much as did everyone else.
I haven't watched it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just a follow-on to the Matt Reeves universe. It would have been great and better if we knew that the Penguin was going to be the villain for the next Batman film. But that's kind of
We don't know.
the way Colin Farrell's been talking, the way everything's been going. It's definitely not going to be him, and we don't know if when the second one's going to be made anyway.
We know that I do like that Gunn's reason for why it hasn't been made yet is that we had a screenplay, it was close, but they don't want to just half-arse it, which is fair.
Oh no! So that's not the Matt Reeves Batman. That is something. Matt Reeves Batman is different from what James Gunn is doing with his Batman.
No,
Matt Reeves one.
No, it's not about. He also said that Matt Reeves thing is. I think he said that the last thing I remember I think he said was that the script is finished. We finally finished the script. Got a script that we're happy with. Basically, was the last thing he said about it, because they've been having trouble, I think, making a script for it that they're happy with. Whereas with Batman, he's like, I don't want to bring Batman in until we have a reason to bring him in to the universe. We don't just want to make a Batman movie for the sake of it being a Batman movie. We want to make...
and I completely understand Gunn's hesitation to because he hasn't revealed his Batman yet, and his Batman hasn't been on screen yet, except for in a small in Creature Commandos. So
yeah,
I can completely understand why he doesn't want to confuse the market with Matt Reeves one. But once again, it doesn't seem like the big delays from him or his team. It is because the script and the film itself is having its own issues.
Yeah, it's because they want to get this. They don't want to. It's because, and I agree, there's a whole philosophy of how he's running everything is they don't want to half-arse the script. They do notice that the probable reason that's possibly happening why we're getting a drop in quality of films is that they're going with the first screenplay of movies a lot of the time, not refining it first before they make it. Yeah. So a lot of these films are getting not the rough draft, but the first accepted draft, rather than realizing, oh, that's not going to work. Redo,
the Marvel approach, which is now not their approach. They've made a massive set of drastic changes. Wasn't working anymore for anyone, and James Gunn's been quite open in the fact that although he's not said their name, he's basically said that's not the practice we'll be doing. We'll be going with a finished script before we start filming, so everyone knows what they're doing, when they're doing it, and why they're doing it, which is smart, old school filmmaking. Thing is that what worked for Marvel, I mean, we've had this conversation many times. What worked for Marvel when it was just Marvel and they were only worried about 3 characters
was fine, but it doesn't work when you've got to juggle Ant-Man, Spider-Man.
When you're trying to make 5 films a year instead of 3 characters over a decade, you can't really go in with a half-finished script and then go, right, we can finish the rest of it before you get there, but we need to start making this thing now. Especially because committees start getting involved, you're changing stuff, you're making an interconnected universe. Guy writes a story that affects Guy B's story, Guy C's story, and they're all arguing with each other because the CGI, which for the big battle scene, which conflicts everyone's fucking story, has been already worked on 8 months ago.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean there are loads and loads of problems like that, which did waste money and made things look bad. We could pretty much see that from what happened with things like the final Ant-Man film and a couple of the others, where you've got these big slapstick battles, CGI battles or CGI scenes in the middle of the movie. But then the reason everyone's got there and the aftermath after it is completely disjointed.
Well, it's like I will admit, I actually realised it when I was rewatching Captain America, and it's the bit where Sam is fighting Ross, and then they both get hit, and then everything collapses on them both, right? Yeah. It's like, how the hell did everyone else get there all of a sudden? That's
exactly it.
There's no build up to them. Like, there's no scene of it cuts to them, driving, getting in the cars to get to him. It's just straight up, they're there picking him out of the rubble. Like, almost. Yeah, and it's definitely seconds after it that they're picking him out of the rubble, because we both all know that you would not knock out a Hulk for more than you wouldn't debilitate a Hulk for more than a second, because the more you hit
you've got a minute, maybe two max, unless you've done some severe damage. But if you've done that much damage,
they're probably reverting. They're reverting back to the human form anyway.
Yeah, that or
you just broke up. You just woke up the equivalent world breaker version of them because crap.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. And I mean, as we know, that film had its own massive problems with reshoots and an entire group of Serpent Society were removed and replaced with another group of the Serpent Society. The whole thing with Betty Ross was strange.
That only shows up at the end of it.
Well, that's the thing. They keep talking about her, like, the way they kept talking about it is like that. They then added it in after the fact when he finally turned up. 3 months after filming was finished, they were like, "Oh shit, can you quickly just do this?" Yeah, all right. And it's like, right now we've got to add scenes in where we're talking about Betty. It's really weird. But yeah, we're getting to the end of that now. That all the movies after the last film that was kind of in that vein of stuff happening was Thunderbolts.
Yeah, as I pointed out, I'm not sure if you agree with me. When I was watching it, I realised that the scene where Bucky shows up and speaks to him is the scene from Thunderbolts where Bucky's coming back from speaking to him. Because that explains also why Bucky's not doesn't get involved, is that it would make sense that the idea that where Bucky just comes back speaking from is from the end credits of Thunderbolts, kind of hints that some of these events were happening simultaneously right at the same time.
Oh yeah,
which explains why no one else was getting involved. They had the
completely. There's kind of the point. There's also the fact that what Bob does or Sentry does, could have wiped out quite a few of the hero base in New York as well, unknowingly.
Also, I will say Sentry is such a good villain. He was such a good villain. I was so happy to see the Void and Sentry show up, and I'm like, yeah, you've done this guy justice. You brought this guy in, and he is, because he is, for all intents and purposes, Marvel's version of Superman isn't Icarus from the Eternals. It is Sentry. Sentry is literally in all essence, their Superman kind of character, because in the sense of not like the ways in terms of power set is what I mean.
Yes.
It's not an Origins power set.
He's that comparable kind of a character within the universe. But whereas Superman's weakness is magic and kryptonite, this guy's weakness is his own mental health.
Yeah.
and he's quite a nuanced character. They didn't quite get all that nuance within the film that they did. I mean, you need to spend more time with him for that. I hope we do.
But they did him, as far as I'm concerned, quite a lot of justice. They didn't get like everything perfect on him, but they got quite a lot of justice done, just in how they designed.
Oh no! I mean, like I say, I enjoyed it. It was another one of those films that, once again, you can see there's been strange edits or strange refilming things going, but it's been part of the course now for a while. But the removal of Taskmaster right at the very beginning.
That one was kind of a big, not shock, but kind of, I'm going to fully go out on a limb and say kind of disappointment.
Yeah, it felt like to me there was a plan for that. Like, that you were the same way as they had brought back Captain America that then became Patriot.
Well, US Agent, not Patriot. Patriot is the Iron Man variant.
Yeah. No, but this too.
Yeah, he's US Agent. He became US Agent at the end of it.
US Agent. But the technically the other, but there's Iron Patriot, and then there's Patriot, which is Isaac Bradley's grandson, who becomes a Captain America style character. Yeah. Anyway, long story short.
Then there's the other one that's from the alternate Earth that in the other one that's from the other Earth that orbits the other side of the fucking solar system.
Yeah.
The female version of Captain America, of Bucky Barnes. And then there's the female version of Bucky Barnes from another universe. There are like... Yeah.
Yeah, there's tons. But yeah,
there's so many characters.
I mean, that would be quite fun. Do you know what? That would be a funny thing to introduce. Is that the way... And once again, this is out there thinking this is definitely not this. Probably this is never going to happen. But the way that this Earth manages to save itself is by during an incursion, is by finding out that it's the other Earth, the opposite Earth, and they use that to smash it into the other universe.
Well,
saving their own.
So, rumor that's apparently coming around about the thing is, Oscar Isaacs, who's back, who is apparently in Doomsday. Have you heard the rumor that he's going to be playing more than one character?
I have heard that he may be coming back as a particular mutant.
Yep, and apparently the costume is a hell of a lot different, which, if it looks like the actual costume, you know full well that I will be so happy at seeing him on the big screen if it's true. Like,
but apparently there was someone who works on the show talking about, I can't remember what they were, but they were asked a question about costumes. And the thing back was, I think everyone's been quite happy with what we've been seeing recently, right? What we've been seeing recently is more comic book accurate costumes. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, that's what they mean. People are speculating that's what they mean there. So yeah, if we get Apocalypse looking like he does in the comics and the cartoons, man.
I know, right?
And also, there is saying that if they have Moon Knight in this, it would be in Doomsday. It would be interesting. One, what side he fights on, and two, whether or not he takes Mjolnir off of Iron Man to use that as a weapon. Because that would be fucking cool to see.
Ow. But yeah. To be fair, I just kind of there are characters that I would love to see them that they've not been able to make movies of. Obviously, the Mahershala Ali movie's not happening because apparently it's might partially be due to his career. His career might have kind of exploded a little bit. shit
Although
happened.
Marshall Ali his career was already on a massive rise. Like people knew what his trajectory was. This whole thing with Blade has been, once again, just a massive screw up, like a lot of the shows have been. I mean,
because like we got a hint in, but I think what happened with it is, in my opinion, is it's because of Eternals. I think like the Eternals didn't do as well as they expected. That I have this strange feeling that they overreacted and kind of went, the projects that are going to link some of the projects are going to link this that that just go, don't do them. And I'm like, that's kind of not how you should have done this if you have done it, if that's the way they've done it. You know what I mean?
That movie was going to be, for some odd reason, and I do not know why, that film, The Eternals, was for some reason going to be the link into the mystical realms, or the horror realms of the Marvel universe. Because off the back of that, we were getting the Dark Knight, the Black Knight. We were getting Blade,
because he appears at the end of it.
Thing, we were getting Werewolf by Night. Off of the back of that, which was giving us all the feeling that we were then getting like Sons. Literally, all of that disappeared. The only thing we ended up getting out of that was a little one-off, a special edition or whatever they call them, of Werewolf by Night, which then showed Werewolf and Man-Thing. What's absolutely fantastic. One of the best things Marvel and Disney have produced, in all honesty.
I actually loved it because it was how they intended to. It was literally an old Hammer House of Horrors, show.
They did it perfectly. They did each character perfectly. I think I was clapping and giggling and just so happy the whole time he was on screen because they did him right. So yeah, like I say, it was a weird thing to tempt, and when that failed, everything else around it failed. We never saw any more of Dwayne Whitman, no reason whatsoever. And there was a ton of different things that he could have appeared in. So yeah, and the same with Blade. The Blade stuff could easily have been a one-off, another one of those one-off specials around Halloween.
Yeah,
that would have given people the hunger to want to see more, or not. That would have given them a great base to do this quick horror one-off of Blade going around taking out a werewolf, a vampire nest, out next to Joshi's bar. When he's on the way out of slaughtering everyone in the place next door, he leaves, and all of a sudden you see Matt Murdock and Foggy going in for a cold beer to the place next door, and that would have been fantastic.
Oh yeah.
It's a shame. It's such a shame that none of that stuff ever came to fruition. It's the same with Moon Knight season 2. Oscar Isaacs, God, this was probably now over a year ago, maybe even more, maybe even closer to, did the whole reveal of them in being on the Nile and going, guess what, we're out filming, and then playing the music to Moon Knight. The announcement of Moon Knight season 2 is being filmed. Nothing happened with that.
True,
they were there for filming.
Oh,
so
I know.
did
But
they film it?
part of Moon Knight season 2, though, Moon Knight, like season 2, I think part of their overall problem with that is finding someone to replace one of the actors because of it. One of the actors' untimely death after it's filmed.
That's true. But then there's ways and means of doing that and ways of rewriting stuff.
Oh, there is, but we know that there's ways of writing stuff. But I think there's this whole thing at the minute where it just feels like some of them are missing. I think at the minute it is reshuffling around. A lot of what's going on with Marvel at the minute is, as we've said, is Thunderbolts and Captain America are the end of the films filmed a particular way, and they're now moving to a new style that's interconnected across all of them from the start when writing them all, because they're realising they needed to rework it because the way they did it originally doesn't work when you're catering to Captain America, the new Captain America, the Thunderbolts, the Ant-Man and the Wasp, Stephen Strange, Spider-Man. Like, you know, when you've got Captain Marvel, like Miss Marvel, and Quantum. I can't remember what her name is. Spectrum. That's it. The one that's Monique Rambeau's like actual character name in comics is Spectrum or Quantum. I can't remember. But like, and then you've got the obvious hints and introductions of the X-Men in like little bits, and then we've got the Fantastic Four now showing up, and it's like, the thing is, because of the way their old way, as you said, and we both said, is that it doesn't work. I think because they're rejigging everything, it's at the minute they're kind of like, we need to just kind of get stuff done that we're doing, and then I think that is actually probably why the next storyline they chose to follow, when they had to untimely fire Jonathan Majors and everything.
Yep.
Had to fire him because of the conflict of interest with the contracts and everything. I think the reason why, after when he got fired, why with the storyline got changed from the Kang Dynasty stuff and the whole Kang stuff to the Doom, the Secret Wars and the end of the world, the battle world and everything with Doom as God Emperor Doom, is they realised that it's probably better if we've got all these characters we need to do. What a better way of doing this is if we do one of the Secret Wars and end the initial MCU universe, start a new one, afresh, where we can start introducing the characters properly and start like semi-start from scratch, but also start from being like an established, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
And it's like they've reached that point, and it's like, oh yeah, now they need to figure out how to do that part.
And I think, in all honesty, they're gonna be taking a massive chunk of inspiration from what James Gunn has said about what his new DC is going to be. The only difference is that Marvel Disney has the ability to get that universe up running and pumping out products a lot faster than Warner Brothers has any ability to do anymore, and a lot faster than James Gunn is ever going to be comfortable in doing, because he is. But the thing is and this doesn't mean the quality is going to be as bad as we've seen before. I can actually see, if done right and not needing as much oversight from Disney itself, and letting Feige cook, and give him the ability to give teams of people a bible of what they can and can't do without prior permission from him. So, like with in the comic book industry, very simple. When Jeff Johns was doing his fantastically popular, stupidly influential run on Green Lantern, we literally brought Green Lantern from the brink of death as a character to being one of the most popular characters in DC Arsenal again. Just before he became the guy, which was simple. You're the Green Lantern dude. You're in charge of Green Lantern. You can do whatever you want within the Green Lantern mythos. You can't do anything that will affect any of the other characters unless you talk to us first and you talk to whoever's running it. And if you want to bring a character in, you can. You can have a Superman character. You can have Superman come in on a story. You can't do anything that will affect his story. In fact, these are the things that you might have to mention because this is what's going on in their story. And we want you to link back. So doing things like that, the way the comic book industry do it, could easily work here. And then give them the ability to make these great story universes. So if I just want to watch X-Men movies, I can watch X-Men movies. And all the other characters can appear in those, and we can have a big kick-off.
And then every so often, they can have, like, well, they'll call it an Avengers movie, let's be honest, that's what they'll call it. But then, that's the point, is like, even in the comics, the Avengers only are the Avengers when there is a world-ending threat. Like, otherwise, they're all separate heroes doing their own thing most of the time in the comics. It's only when there is a world-ending threat that we call them the Avengers, because that's when they're needed.
exactly. Fantastic example of this. Funny enough, does come from Marvel, but not Disney Marvel, bloody Netflix Marvel. As you know, me and my wife have been watching the Daredevil series. But what happens between season 2 and season 3 of Daredevil is actually the Defenders, which is their version of a Marvel film where everyone comes together from their own particular series. And we hadn't watched Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Punisher, although it's not important for Defenders. Previous season as Punisher, there's a Punisher series. We hadn't watched that, and we hadn't watched Iron Fist because I am never, ever, ever watching Iron Fist again.
I don't blame you. I
refuse to subject a loved one to that ridiculous torture.
It's just, and the worst part about that entire show is it's not actually the storyline that makes it so bad. It's the actor that plays Danny that I can't stand.
Yes.
It's just he's boring.
Yes. He's so boring. He's the most. There is a scene in Defenders where he is in a cave with dragon bones in it, and they spend 5 minutes showing just him sitting there next to a blank rock wall with a bone sticking out of it. And the most interesting thing in that entire scene, it's got a fucking dragon bone sitting in it. It may not as well be there.
Mm-hmm.
He is less interesting than the rock he's leaning against, and you're meant to be understanding that he is trying to concentrate on how to use his chi at will.
Yeah.
I mean, weird enough, that is actually something I had. One of the few things. So what I was going to use this as an example of is how good this is. So me and my wife had not watched in this run any of the other series. So we get to Defenders, and now we're getting this Avengers style TV series in which, it starts off with Iron Fist in that series, then goes to Luke Cage, then goes to Jessica Jones. In fact, Daredevil was the last person we actually get introduced to in this run, and they do such a good job within that 6 or 8 episodes. Give you who those characters are whilst following on a completely different, really cool story. Beth knew who these characters were by the end. The only thing I had to explain was how Iron Fist managed to use his powers at will at the last fight. I was like, well, actually, if you remember a couple of episodes ago, I made a comment about how he's trying to practice his chi and how stupid it is for him to try. And if you had looked, what he was doing was pulsing power through his hand, just him showing that he was learning how to control this thing at will, and he was doing the same meditation when he was leaning against the rock while we were both looking at the dragon bones. It has been fantastic watching. I mean, like I said, the thing is that it told you everything you needed to know in that series whilst telling a great collaboration story. And that's what the Avengers film should be, or whatever group we get, either it
well, I mean, that's what it was. That's what like, as much as some people seem to rag on it, I don't know why people rag on it as much as some reason.
Thunderbolts.
Not Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts is the one that's universally loved by people. People absolutely love Thunderbolts. It's Captain America is the one that keeps getting people hating on it for some reason when I see it. I see people. Thunderbolts is the one that seems to be the one that everyone's like, I love it.
I will say the one thing about Thunderbolts I will always say is that the reason I give it quite a lot of flack is because it was so close to being a fantastic spy thriller with superheroes, with a great twist ending final battle, that was completely ruined me to sell a toy. And
which toy was that one again?
It was to start selling Red Hulk stuff.
Oh, do you mean Captain America, not Thunderbolts?
Yeah, I'm talking about Captain America. Yes, yeah. Sorry.
You said Thunderbolts.
I was talking about. Sorry, I missed.
Yeah, I'm on about like team up movies. Like I'm on about Thunderbolts. Like that's what like Avengers: Age of Ultron, Avengers 1, Avengers 3. Like, they're all really good films that, even if you hadn't really been keeping up with the other films, you still can kind of know who all these characters are from the way they're introduced in each of the those films. Still, like, you get.
Well, what's great about the Avengers in particular is that you're right. The first film was done perfectly like that. You technically, I mean, if you do rewatch that, you and only have watched one set of the other films, you know where you kind of know where you are by about 20 to 30 minutes in with the character wise, with who the characters are. Also gives you a reason why you want to watch all the recent ones. And then also goes on to tell its own film. What it also does, though, is where it doesn't, the sequels, the kind of Age of Ultron and basically all the other Avengers films after that are technically sequels to the first Avengers film.
Oh yeah.
Which means you kind of don't need to know who these motherfuckers are at this point because you've already seen them collaborate together.
Yeah. But it's still
yeah.
Age of Ultron and not Endgame but Infinity War. They still have not like intros to these characters, but like in that first scene in Age of Ultron, where they're attacking the the castle and everything. Yeah. You have this scene of all them bantering, and in that scene, it establishes who each of the characters are. So if you've never seen any of the other films or seen Avengers 1, you immediately have an inkling of who all the characters are in Age of Ultron just from that first scene.
Yes.
And it's the same with it's the same with Infinity War. You get the same thing in Infinity War with with the introduction, to Thanos and Thor, and Thor and Thanos and that, but you immediately get that this guy's the bad guy, this is the big bad. You know what I mean? With Thanos is introduction in Infinity War.
Be up to at this point in time, yeah.
Yeah, and you immediately get who Bruce Banner is.
Quite well.
It catches quite well. Like, you get these intros to these characters really quickly, and it's like, yeah, this is really well done. Even though this is a sequel to another film, and that's what I was on about. Is like and Defenders does the same thing, and Thunderbolts does the same thing, because all these characters that are in Thunderbolts have appeared in other movies. They're all characters from different shows and movies, and it very much establishes who each of them are quite quickly. So even that does the same thing. But what I was thinking of with it is, it's like, but then a movie that I'm going to be honest, I can't think of a movie off the top of my head that doesn't really do it. But like, I feel like a lot of other team up movies don't do that as well. Some of the team up movies don't do that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah. So like, well, if we're in particular, you've seen this more in animated stuff. Well, so here's the other thing to say: no one else really has done this before. The few that have, are people like Kevin Smith with the View Askew universe, and what Greg Berlanti and guys did with the Arrowverse. Now, the problem with the Arrowverse in particular was, and DC have an issue that kind of negates all of this, is that most of the characters in the Arrowverse, including variations, and by this I mean variations, I mean not them multiversal variations, but if you've got a Batman, you've got a Batwoman or a Batgirl. If you've got a Superman, you've got a Superman or a Supergirl. If you've got a Flash, you've got a Jesse Quick. Their variants are very much known. Their second generations, if they have them, are very much known. Their image is their image.
Oh yeah.
If you hadn't watched all of the series, or at least to some extent, weirdly enough, Legends of Tomorrow is different because it was made up of characters from all the other series. Actually, you kind of needed to have watched those series before to know who the fuck people were.
Oh yeah.
The problem is that once someone's got a Superman logo on their chest, you know it's either Superman or Supergirl. And DC kind of breaks those rules. many ways. Yeah, so there's not many things in it. The Super Sentais, the Power Ranger film shows.
Rest in peace,
Once
Power
again,
Rangers.
who had it's been an issue with those shows. There are a lot of the times when, if you're a kid watching like something like Lightspeed Rescue or something, and they did a big crossover, the only thing you would really know, unless you're an older geek, is that these other people that were coming in were old Power Rangers. That for some reason they were being called legends. You're a legend. You're in this group. Yeah, yeah. That just means there's other Power Rangers there. You didn't know shit really, unless it was one of the big ones, and they decided to give you a 5-minute preview of their shit. But even then, it was just
like
it wasn't
Tommy.
done the same way. Yeah.
Like if Tommy shows back up, or Billy
If
shows
Tommy
back up.
showed up, if Jason, not Billy. Billy very David Yost, unfortunately.
Well, we know what happened with the original, but actually he did show up in one of the TV series, as well as the Once and Always.
Yes, he
but
did.
Only after Disney. I think it's only after it became technically who owns it now.
No, so it was when it was removed, when Bandai originally sold it to Disney. He went back. I believe it was during the Disney run, because then it went back to Saban, which he had an issue with the production people.
I think it's during the Disney run when he showed back up for an episode. Because he's willing to work with Disney, he's not willing to work with fucking Saban or thingy anymore.
Well, no, I mean they've done their bits now. I mean he's made his peace. I think because it was horrible people working on that show that made his life a living hell for being a gay guy. Just wrong. And yeah, it was really nice of him, to be fair, just for the fans to come back when he did, and to still have so much love for the franchise after the way he was treated, because I don't think Carl would.
I think a lot of people would, unfortunately, and it's sad.
He's a cool dude.
It's sad, but it's like you can't. At the end of the day, you can't. Also, at the end of the day, the fact that everyone loved him when he loved him so much when he came back is just testament to how much the original Power Rangers was good. Like everyone loved it.
100%. I've been lucky enough to now meet two of them. David Yost is the one I always want to meet. He's always in a place that I can never get to. He very rarely does stuff in London. I was lucky enough to meet both Ashley and Zach at a convention, which is great. Walter is just the shit. You can't beat that coolness, unfortunately. Basically, he's basically his character from the show. It's quite funny. We're now in a bit of a weird space with Power Rangers, because the only thing we seem to be getting that's newish at the moment is an AI redone of the original series with some really janky merchandise, which I'm very much not upset about from Playmates. I get it. This is kids. It's meant to be for kids, but for a long time now, especially through Hasbro, they weren't selling to kids, and they knew they were selling to adults and making adult money product. Their helmets were fantastic. Was only waiting on 3 more. The black one, the yellow one, and the green one from them, because they didn't do a green. They never did. They never released them.
Still, my favourite line forever will for always ever be, whenever Rita is in the original series, whenever Rita is shouting, "Make my monster grow!" It's like, God damn it! God damn it! Every time I'm like, God dang. It's like every time, like,
it's a great.
Fuck's sake.
Well, what's fantastic? There is a great storyline in the comics where they capture Finster, and they say, "Look, you don't understand. You're free from Rita. Rita. They think they've destroyed Rita. Rita's gone. So we can. What do you want? You don't have to be a prisoner. You don't have to be a slave to some master. What do you want, and we will free you. Just you can't do evil shit anymore. And he's like, well, all I've ever wanted to do is be an artist that created art so wonderful it came to life. You gonna let me create things that come to life? Like what? Like your monsters? Oh, like my art. It's like, no, we're not going to let you create monsters. She went, that's why I'll never go against my empress. She lets me create my art. She may not do nice things with them. She lets me do what I want to do. He sits back down. Fucking awesome.
Oh yeah.
And then Rita just like literally just opens a door. Like they leave, and Rita Rose just opens a doorway through their highly restricted cell. It's like, would you like to come home, Finster? She's like, oh yeah, I want to come home. I want to make some shit.
The scariest part about this, by the way, is the way you say it makes it sound more sinister than it actually does sound in the episode. In the episode, he just sounds super campy saying it. That's what's funnier. If you go,
yeah. I mean, this wasn't an episode. This was a comic book. It's in the comics, but it was. He's a very sinister character, I think. When they in the Sentai, he's actually quite a sinister character, and the voice is different there as well. So yeah, if you're kind of like me, that kind of a geek, you kind of see the different. It's almost like they have different personalities, and you can see them both being played out when you sort of see the original over the dub, the American over the Japanese. It's quite funny because especially when you know what is going on in the Japanese one, so much more makes sense. Like some weird shit that you do see.
Oh yeah, but to be fair, the plot in the American version is completely different to the plot in the Japanese version because the plot in the American version is
I mean,
is heavily sanitized, and we can both agree on that. Compared,
not so much the sanitation. I mean, to be fair, it's not so much sanitation, especially with that first series. I mean, there is certain things that they wouldn't allow. Not so much allow, but. I mean, there's nothing majorly sexual in or anything like that.
I don't mean that. I mean sanitized in because, like, culturally wise, it's the stuff that's acceptable to more of a Western ones, whereas for Japanese audiences a little more have their culture's different to ours. They have different things that is more acceptable.
Oh, yeah, I mean, but I mean, there's loads of things that I had to change for certain reasons. So, like when Saban,
I don't think not sanitized. It's more what's the word?
Well, they had to remove a lot of stuff anyway, because when they decided that the live action stuff with the actors out of costume weren't going to be Japanese and dubbed over,
because that wouldn't sell in America. That's the actual reason.
It's well, weird enough, they kind of proved in a lot of stuff that it did, but Bandai wanted to make more money. Sorry, Saban wanted to make more money, and if stuff of that was filmed, it then becomes fully his, and less of it has to then go back to a Japanese company, and more of it can be given. It's more to do with money than anything else. The guy knows how to make money, like fish know how to swim. Anyway, he so one of the things, so in the actual plot points of the Japanese one, especially the first main series, is that Fairy Tale witch has been broken out of her containment, and Earth's protector, this weird little sort of half monkey man thing, knows that she's coming, and she's kidnapped some children from a spaceship that was landing on the moon, and she's now bringing out monsters from Japanese mythology and fairy tale to attack the city, and the only way that it can be stopped is by the Guardian of Earth bringing back 5 leaders of ancient tribes who worship dinosaurs. and the dinosaur gods help them
And
out.
then remember, there's the other one the offshoot of it that's all about fruit. There's fruit rangers as well. That we never got over here because it would be too weird for us.
Right, so this is another funny thing as well. So back in the so this is how the story goes. As far as I've been told it and understand it, when they were going back to the Japanese stockpile to make new seasons, so like when they'd done the stuff for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, which was the original Jew Ranger, they'd run out of footage. They need something else. I went, well, what else have we got? And I went, well, the next one which we got, which was Zeo, which is where everyone gets new Zords. They get the Zeo crystals, new Zords, new costume.
Yeah.
Now, because what they actually had done to lengthen Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is that you got the White Ranger coming for a bit after the Green Ranger left. And if you look very, very closely, his fur is different when it's on his belt. And his helmet is different because he doesn't have lips, he has a shield. In fact, his costume doesn't really match him with the others at all.
Nope.
Because they were using clips from a crossover set, which they could use him in for a bit, and then you could leap into Zeo. So there's loads of.
And then, to be fair, eventually they did kind of start producing Power Rangers in the US itself when they got to the series.
I mean, this was towards the Disney end when CG was involved, and it was bad.
Oh yeah.
Here's what happened. So whenever this run happened, and they run out of footage to be able to convert, and they needed to now go to a new Power Rangers team, they would go over to Japan and go, "What have you got?" And so this is the story. They would then go, "We've got these three." And Super Sentai had been running for a long time. At that point, many decades. So you had sort of serious, for want of a better word, serious ones, like where Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comes from. And now I can't remember the name of this or any of these. But there was one involving. Oh yes, I do. There was one that was not. It was very semi-serious. It was a bit jokey. It was the idea was that they, their Zords are cars.
RPM.
And straight away. No, weren't RPM. Straight away, Saban went, "Oh, we can do stuff with cars." That became Power Rangers Turbo.
Turbo.
Yeah.
I also forget that the original Power Rangers universe ends at the end of, I think it's Space Rangers. And we end up in a new universe.
So the Zordon era ends at the end of, I think it's Lightspeed Rescue. It's quite late on. It's not one. It's one of the time travel ones, I believe.
Yeah, it's because
Zordon
comes back in. It's because Zordon realizes the only way to save the universe is to sacrifice himself, and finally Zordon dies. It's like
So yeah, no, he doesn't. Well, so Andros destroys his containment chamber, so all the energy that keeps him in this dimension, it's leaked out, and this alpha wave will remove evil from the universe, and it gets smashed, and evil is removed from the universe for the most part. There's a couple of caveats, but that's what is the catalyst for Once and Always. Billy is trying to relocate Zordon to bring him back, and instead, if you actually watch the episode, Zordon's chamber gets destroyed, and then it goes through the universe, turning all the villains we had seen to this point into their good form. So the last time we see Zed and Rita,
I can't believe that Zed came back in 2023.
Well, the original voice actor died, and that's why we've got a different one. But Zed had been back a few times over the years. Zed is quite an important character in Power Rangers and has been back more than once before then. But they became human. Their human forms. Evil was removed. And that is so. And Zed came back many years ago. He was given his evil form again, and he was doing his thing. But Rita had never come back. In fact, the last real mention of Rita, I believe, was her being a kind of a goddess of goodness. So when Billy is looking for Zordon in Morphing Grid, the essence that he gets back is actually evil, is Rita's evil essence that was removed with the Alpha Wave or the Z Wave, whatever it was. And that's what then infects Alpha, and that's what makes its own robot, and blah 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 blah. It's very good. It's very actually, as a continuation of a sequel to the Zordon era. It's very well done and makes a shit ton of sense. It's very well written. Yeah. Another thing to be interested to note is you can see when Americans decided to do their own stuff because you've got incredibly bad CGI. And then when you can see when they ran out of old stuff or decided that the older stuff wasn't good enough for modern TV and a modern look and went for more of the new Sentai stuff because it's just moderately crappy CGI. But the one thing you'll never see again is men in costumes as swords. That kind of art has been completely lost through time and temperament. The people that could do it the best have passed on or got too old. The art was never passed along. The miniature buildings that explode and do that's all gone. But yeah, it's such a shame. We're never going to probably never see another kind of version of that again. The Godzillas, a couple of most recent Godzillas from Japan have emulated it in very interesting ways. But yeah, we'll never see the good old days of it again, unfortunately.
No, but unfortunately, it's a side effect of technology advancing that new people don't learn certain things, aren't taught the same things as some people. Because it is the duty, unfortunately, of what people forget. It's the duty of people that are older in this industry to pass on these skills to the new staff.
Yes, no. I mean, there's many reasons why such a technique goes out of fashion when it started to become cheaper to do CGI. Instead of having a massive studio where you have to rebuild a whole part of Tokyo every few weeks, be destroyed again. It becomes incredibly cheaper to have 16 computers in from a third of that size, a quarter of that size. Doing it by CG, all that space gets lost. So I think look at practical effects in films in America. That's all gone. I mean, you're never gonna. It's very rare that you're gonna see a modern day film that's gonna have a thing at the bottom and practical effects by Henson Studios. You know.
Ow, excuse me. Well, a lot of studios also have their own in-house ones now as well.
Yeah, but I mean, practical effects are very, very rare. They're usually practical effects now are usually more a live action thing for something to quickly respond to that's going to then be CGI'd later. You're never going to. I'd say it's very unlikely we're going to get something like the original Thing or Farscape
or Jurassic Park. Everyone
Jurassic
forgets.
Park. Some of Jurassic Park was practical, not all of it.
No, but pretty much most of the dinosaurs' actual close-ups things were full-blown were animatronics.
Yes.
Like the T-Rex one had a habit of activating randomly.
Yeah, they did have representation, but one of the big things about that movie was how great their CGI was for dinosaur flesh and muscle and sinew. Yeah,
because I have the book. I have a book that's I have the making of Jurassic Park, like physical book somewhere.
Yeah.
Which it's like it shows the full animatronic T-Rex they made. Like you can see you can see where they CGI'd because like part it is on like basically the front of it, But like, you can see the massive mechanisms to use to make it. It's like its head is straight up. Its head and quite a good chunk of like the front of its body were an animatronic on purpose to make it easier to do some effects. But a lot you can tell its body and movement. A lot of it is CGI from on top of that.
It was a great thing because now do something like you'd make a big T-Rex's head for all those big great close-ups and interacting with things and bumping into things. Then the rest of the body would be done computer. Everything's done computer, but there'll be a couple of sparks that are allowed air cannon blow air in someone's face, and that is classed as the practical effect.
Yeah.
Whilst there's a guy holding a green tennis ball. So I mean, it is a sad thing that the best you're going to get is Muppets, because things like Farscape was awesome. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was awesome.
It's the 30th anniversary of that movie, by the way.
Don't I know it?
I only know that because the fucking trailer popped up for me the other day, and I was like, and the only thing that went on in my head, by the way, was, even though it's not from the first film, it's from the second film, was Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go.
Oh. Secret of the Ooze. That is a film that got sanitized to an inch of its life in the weirdest possible ways. But it went, so by the time the second film come out, the Mums of America had their absolute nut over the fact that their kids were watching a show where and wanted to go see movies in which swords were used to stab things and nunchucks were used to hit things and size. So they absolutely bonkers. So if you actually watch, especially that first fight, they use absolutely everything they can as a weapon, including sausages, not hurt anyone. And when it does come down to using their weapons, they use them weird ways. Like Leo uses his to stick into the roof, and then he lifts himself up, and then basically uses it as a hole. Donatello, instead of using a stick to hit someone, picks up 2 wooden bowling pins and smacks him over the head. His stick would have been less damaging. It is bonkers. It's crazy. A couple of weird, funny things as well, because the second film was a studio film. First film, people very much forget this. Not only was it technically an indie film, it was made by Manga. As in manga. The video company that made manga videos. It was one of theirs. And it has a very interesting scene in that original. Because in the original story of that film, Raphael was going to get beaten up, and when he got brought back, would have been so badly beaten he was almost completely close to death. Like, he weren't going to be there. And when he got there for the final battle, he was going to be wrecked. His shell was going to be cracked up. His face was going to be smashed in. And in that film, one that loses his nut goes around and then literally goes around kicking the shit out of some villains and then starts screaming at the roof is Michelangelo. That scene gets redubbed with Raphael's voice, and his damage isn't as bad, blah 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 blah. The reason this is interesting is because they took that out because they wanted to keep Michelangelo as the cool one, the one that never really loses his shit.
The one that's goofy and never takes anything seriously. Mikey.
Never takes anything seriously. In Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Ronin, that scene is actually shown differently and referred to. So basically, because if you actually look at that scene, you can tell it's Michelangelo. If you know what you're looking for, you can actually see it's Michelangelo, not Raphael. in the movie version. And in the comic book version, they actually show that was Michelangelo after that battle. It was meant to be one of the first times he started to crack and become what he is now, because one of his brothers was that badly beaten. He was like, this was the only thing that was ever going to break me, was when they broke you. Kind of a deal. But yeah, interesting thing to look out for when you rewatch it. And then there was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, which was the worst cash grab known to the universe and was awful.
Never watched it.
It's almost like they put the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 into a random time travel script that someone found on a desk.
Oh, was it the typical, this movie's the time travel movie?
So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, Turtles in Time. Or Back in Time, or Back, I can't remember what it had. Turtles in Time, I believe, was the video game. This has a different name involving time. I'm not even going to fucking bother looking it up. Casey Jones manages to steal a weird looking lantern from some foot soldiers, I believe. In doing so, accidentally transports April and the Turtles back in time, because at the same time in ancient Japan, the same item was being held by a Japanese prince and his 4 soldiers. And they swap places, and they run amok in New York, modern day New York, whilst the Turtles plus April have to deal with Michelangelo gets lost in a village. The other Turtles become like weird mystic warriors. April does April shit, and they invent a pizza place in feudal Japan while stopping gun running. It's weird. It's so weird. It is unbelievable. I mean, like I say, it was obviously a time travel script, or an ancient Japan script about Europeans selling guns to feudal Japan, and someone went, I've just done a massive load of cocaine and got the rights to Ninja Turtles. What do you want to do? And his friend went, I would like to try some of that massive bag of cocaine, please. And would you like to look at my script about ancient Japan and European gun running? You know what we can do here, my friends? And they both looked at each other and went, shit more coke? And they went, yeah. And they did a shit more coke. And then they was like, oh my god, we can turn this into Back to the Future, but with turtles and European gun runners. Yeah! That's what they did. It's up there with being completely freaking mental. I mean, I'd say it's a bad B movie, but
it's not even a B movie.
Out on that.
It's not even a B
movie.
Really
misses out on that.
No.
Yeah. In fact, this movie is so bad that you not only should you watch it for the laugh. That's the other thing. So, AC Jones doesn't get teleported back in time, but AC Jones's ancestor and identical lookalike just happens to be in a Japanese prison and falls in love with April O'Neil because she seems to be some kind of witch and really So
basically, Casey Jones becomes the last samurai.
No, he just follows her around because she's got a Walkman that can play without headphones.
No, what about is in he basically becomes the guy in history. Casey Jones' ancestor is basically the guy in history who was the only white samurai.
Oh yeah.
Basically.
Basically, something like that. To be honest, yeah. I mean, it's stupid. It is so stupid. watch, just because of how bad it is. The thing is that it is so bad that it does make Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the next mutation, incredibly valued as a watch. And that has got some issues. That's another one. People forget the Japanese version had a Power Rangers crossover, which is fun.
Oh yeah.
And we also got their female sister, Venus de Milo. You've never been really disturbed until you've seen a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle with boobs.
Oh god, the female Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Yeah, Venus de Milo with the purple.
I do love that all of them have fucking, even the female. Have you not noticed? There's now in the anime. There's an animated series where there's not one female turtle. There's 4. As in, there's another 4 turtles that are all women.
Do you know what? I'm not up to date with the modern animation, so no, I didn't know that.
There's 4 of them, and they are apparently and there's the normal turtles, and they meet, and it's like, what the hell? It's like this. It's because I think it stems from that Alvin and Chipmunk stuff, where we need a bunch of female versions of them, like one for each of the male characters, so they all can have a love interest. That's basically the female ones are all female versions of each of the male characters. Basically, it's the Chipmunk thing.
Well, to be fair,
I think it only ran for a season because it did so bad.
To be fair, American searches on websites like Pornhub and things are very, very disturbing. The top 20. That I've got a feeling that they added female turtles to keep youngsters away from the idea that one of them might be boning April O'Neil.
Yeah, but let's be honest. Rule 34 of the internet, Jax. What's Rule 34 of the internet? If it exists, there's porn of it.
100%. But yeah, it's and there has been of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Well, everything. Yeah, everything.
I'm sorry. You can. I'm sorry. When you can literally find fucking porn of Werewolf Enid screwing Wednesday. That's how depraved the people are on the internet.
I'm not going to say that's a genius search, but yeah, horrible, depraved, horrible.
Look. The reason I know these shit is never get drunk and play Truth or Dare.
Yeah, but,
with a bunch of nerds, because that's what happens.
Yeah. I mean, let's push right. I mean, I write an AO3, and my oldest reads a lot of fanfic on AO3, and I'm very glad that she sticks to areas that she sticks to. She was like, there's a conversation, we were talking about something, and fast. Well, my wife was like, "Oh, does your thing have fanfic about that?" She's like, "Oh, I don't know. Let me check that. Don't check. Don't check. Don't check, because your stuff has such a collected audience. I know where the weirdness of what you're about to search is going to go from." And yeah, it was seconds, and oh my god, this is weird. Okay. Yeah, let's say, yeah, if there is a thing, there is porn about, and it's usually written by some nerd, and there is about 1,000 pages of it in the most graphic depictions you could ever imagine, or just one-word sentences.
There's a reason the website Rule 34 exists.
It's not.
There's a porn is basically the thing that is what the world loves.
It powers technology.
It does. A lot of people forget VR came from porn. That's not came from porn. VR. One of the things that is may not be powering VR's like advancement is that now there is a thing as VR porn. It's like crap. But it is.
So
the minute
that was been around for a long time, before even the MetaQuest. So certain phones back in the day could do a thing called Google Vision, Google Glass. You could buy these cardboard things and stick your phone in them, and basically it gave you a very cheap 3D headset. Worked quite well. A couple of my phones did do it. There's a couple of really great movie trailers that came out in 3D for this thing, as plus a couple of experiences. But the moment Google released that piece of card and put this shit on phones, there was a bunch of websites that were making porn into it.
Oh yeah,
it was hilarious. Even before then,
there's a reason the Avenue Q song is "The internet is really, really great for porn." No, that is Avenue Q song.
It's very much so. Technology and things, all of the stuff that we find fantastic, and the reason certain things win and lose have been down to how popular the adult material has been for them.
Seriously, the porn industry would probably help fund the graphics industry for video games if they decided to turn their things to video games. Let's be absolutely honest.
I mean, so if you, for example, Betamax versus VHS, it was a lot. There was a lot more adult material on VHS because it was cheaper to record on those cassettes for a start. You could put more on them, and yet you could sell them for cheaper. Betamax was expensive to put on, and actually home recording on those things was a nightmare. So yeah, and you didn't have much space on them. A Betamax 60 only had 60 minutes, and long play was not an option on a lot of the older machines. So yeah, got one out there. VHS, same with Laserdisc. You couldn't record easily on Laserdisc. You had to go through a proper publisher. But to my knowledge, there wasn't any independent production companies on those making their own printing their own Laserdiscs. It became expensive, and then also dealing with a lot more censorship and things like that. So that didn't fly too well. Although there was quite a lot of material on there. The one that is a complete sort of goes against this, but not as well, because it ended up being cheaper to work with Blu-ray than it was HD. Was HD failed for a very, very simple reason. High definition discs and displays were expensive. And Sony decided to levy the fact that they were bringing out their own style of disc, which was Blu-ray, with the fact that their next big console was coming out. So let's help put our game discs on Blu-ray and turn our machine into a Blu-ray player. So when our customer spends like £400 or £500 on the machine, they've got a Blu-ray player and they've got the most up-to-date games console. And you know what they're going to start doing? Buying games and Blu-ray discs to watch on it. And people did. Blu-ray won the market completely. Whereas the better selling console, which was the Xbox, to buy a HD drive, which was Microsoft owned or partially owned, separately, at almost the same price as the console, and then plug it in, wire it in, or you had to go out and buy a HD DVD machine, which was incredibly expensive. Then you had to find a place that would. After a few months, very few places stocked HD DVD because no one was buying them. They only had Blu-rays. Let's go to the big shops. So that's what that felt.
Oh, we know HCD failed versus Blu-ray, and then now everyone's going to just forgo the fucking discs entirely,
which has now caused everyone a nightmare because I mean, a lot of people, it should be a good idea. Don't get me wrong. Going digital should be the future because everything should be cheaper. And what they've turned around and gone and done is no. And this is the thing. Those companies should have done this out of smarts, but they went greedy because they do want gamers to go digital. There's a reason they want them to go digital is because it's so much cheaper for them because they're not having to pay to make this, which costs them a lot of money. If they can remove that whole feature, they actually do save a hell of a lot of money, plus the shipping stuff. So they should have kept games at a sensible price. If you buy it digital, you're only going to be spending £35 to £40. If you buy physical, because you get the full game on physical, you're going to be paying the full amount. But what they then decided to do was turn discs into basically e-cards. You'll only have part of the information on it, and you have to download the rest anyway, which meant the disc isn't technically worth the money that you've paid for it.
And then now it's full going digital altogether, like the Xbox X. Doesn't even have a disc drive. You just download your games.
Yeah.
You just download you have to download your games, which means you need an external hard drive half the time because you don't have.
Yeah, and as much as cloud gaming is fantastic, it doesn't work all the time as well as it needs to.
Plus, internet isn't even in an area where I live, we have decent. The first time in about 5 years, my internet went down a couple of weeks ago for the day, right? And that's the only time it's ever gone down, like in 5 years. We've had the internet here for 10 years, and the last time I went down in 5 years, and that was because someone dug through the line while they were doing building work outside. Yeah. That's why it went down. But this time it was just they were having issues in our area, and I'm like, I live in an area that isn't is not depraved, but it's not a low income area, if you know what I mean. But it's as we say, wait. But as I say, it's my internet is fairly decent, but even cloud gaming, I don't trust it most of the time because most of the time it has this lovely habit of it. If you're playing an online game, they can be quite intense. So it starts lagging while it's downloading it because it doesn't just have to download the game to your computer so you can run it on the cloud. It then has to download, what the other person's doing and everything. So the interactions between the two things. We are coming close to the end of this week's podcast because it is nearly 10 o'clock.
Yeah, jeez.
I know.
We have rambled for a bit. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, there isn't. This week, Jurassic World. Well, the only things I can really say is Wednesday, Jurassic World Rebirth came out on Wednesday, which was yesterday. Basically, at the minute, there's not really much for us to talk about other than what we've talked about with Marvel and DC again. In case what we talk about probably every swap, we probably said the same things we've said today on this podcast multiple fucking times. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah, the only thing different is I did see Squid Games. I did watch the end of that.
I've never watched it, so I don't know what it's like. I just never interested me.
I always found it. To be fair, the quality did sort of run down over the course of the years. First season was an absolute banger. The third season was just. They ended up just getting rid of people because they knew it'd be a shock and they needed to get to the end, and not because anything major was happening that would be a great reason for it. So it's kind of sad in that respect.
It's to be fair, it's one of them shows that I don't think needed a second or a third season. It was kind of one of them shows that I feel like, but then that highlights my major issue with it. What I have always forever present, never have with Netflix.
Here's the thing. So I do think it was good. It needed a second season, and I think the second season that was originally planned which was which was kind of what we saw at the end of the first, which we did see at the end of the first season, which is him in his disguise trying to find a way back into the games as someone else. But then that whole storyline kind of got very heavily changed to what we then did get, and because of that, he started losing a little bit of its spirit. The main character kind of his motivation changed too much at that point. And the third season was just them trying to elongate that second season a bit too long. There's a lot of stuff that just didn't be needed.
Well, in regards to it, though, for me, my main issue was on about is that with Netflix, it highlights my main issue where shows that don't need more, that clearly have finished and run their course, get more seasons than they need, and the plot just starts getting we just start getting the storyline starts going nowhere and being really crap. And shows that deserve more seasons, where there's clearly that the writers for these shows are passionate about this, they've clearly laid down groundwork for stuff to play out over multiple seasons, and because it doesn't perform exactly to Netflix's standards, it's bye. You only get 1 season or 2 seasons.
Well, even stuff that outperformed their intentions, they seem to just give up on for years. And out of the blue, go, oh yeah, no, we've got one coming along. It's almost like they make no plans to keep any of these actors on contract.
No.
I mean, the Games is a great example of this. Now, fair enough, that was stupidly popular out of the blue.
Oh yeah.
And the guy was, and then even the guy was making it, it took me nearly a decade to make that first season. It's going to take me a long time to make a second.
Oh yeah.
The other one, which shouldn't have been like that. What was it? It was Peace. They knew that was going to be popular. They didn't know how popular that was going to be. But they knew it was going to be popular.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that they were straight away, they were announced season 2 is coming. We're starting filming in this in 3 months' time. We're out of filming. Now nothing. What happened? Do we really need? Do we really need all that money being spent on another season of Stranger Things?
Not really.
Not
not really.
Stranger Things to an end.
I'm gonna pump up opinion. I couldn't even make it through the first season of Stranger Things.
Oh no, I've got to say, fair enough. I can understand that. I loved it. I've been.
The worst part about that is, by the way, right? Stranger Things is my kind of show. I just couldn't be bothered with it. But again, also when it came out and when it first came out and stuff, when I started watching it, it was the same time that Disney Plus had literally just launched. I'd gotten into watching Supernatural again and finally finished watching all 15 seasons of it after it and stuff, because started watching it years after it came out, because I'm that kind of person that doesn't generally, I don't watch a lot of things when they come out, because a lot of the time I don't check Netflix or check these for what's come out and stuff, and I tend to just watch random shows when I watch stuff. So at the minute I need to watch Ironheart. That's why I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it over the course of probably the weekenders and stuff. I'm seeing Jurassic World on Saturday and stuff, but in regards to most of it, the stuff of the films and everything, that with Netflix, that annoys me is that whenever I look at Netflix, I'm I kind of feel like just watching stuff I've already watched on here before, or right now, the only thing I'm watching on Netflix right now literally is I am rewatching Star Trek The Next Generation again.
Yeah.
I'm not rewatching any new show or any Netflix original. I'm just watching The Next Generation because I'm rewatching shows I've watched years ago because I can. Not because, oh yeah, I want to watch this show because I've never seen it before. It's because I just want to watch Star Trek Next Generation. I don't want to watch Netflix's latest like thing. I don't want to watch The Witcher because I have no interest in watching The Witcher because I didn't like the games. Like, I will fully admit I am a person that didn't like Witcher 1, 2, or 3. I got bored playing them. They're just like, these don't interest me at all.
Now, once again, which is an interesting one as well, because that got so much money. And there's so many different, and so many spin-offs, and they tried so heavily to keep the franchise running even after Henry Cavill left. And
to be fair, the reason why he left, I don't blame him. I also love that the writers tried to smear him after he left. Did you not know that? Tried to say that he was difficult to work with. But
everyone else calls him a wonder.
Yeah, but then it's like almost everyone else that he's worked with for all these other stuff has never said a thing like this about him. It's what it is that you don't like the fact that he's a nerd and that he wants the show to. He
was calling him out for like he's a fan of the stories. He's a fan of the books. He's played the games, but he's a fan of the books. And he was told that it was going to be the books. And I know the game. I know it from the games, not because I play them. But my friend plays them a lot.
Yeah.
The amount of times I've watched them play is unbelievable. I do love what you get. I believe my brother's read the books. I think he's read the book adaptations of the games. Follows now. I don't something or other.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
I watched that first episode, and it was a slow burn, but I was getting into it. And then you had the big monster at the end that I recognised from the games. I was like, right, this is going to be great. And they started off the fight really well. Ended way too fast for me, and I was like, why did that feel so rushed? It's like, because that was the budget they had for that episode, and it may have been the budget they had for the next 2 episodes as well.
Yeah.
Because then you've got this really jumbled story that was just not easy to follow at all. No, and I didn't really care about anyone. I didn't even really care that he was the Witcher. And that's not right.
Oh, yeah. Well, the issue with it as well is it's because it's based on the books, not the games. Like, the books, not the game books. Like, the original books.
That was
its story is so different.
That's like Henry Cavill was like, well, this is nothing really to do with the books either.
No, because they kept changing the story. Like, and that's why he left, because he's like, I don't want you to play. I don't want to stay in this. I don't want to. I want to stay close to the source material. It's why he's running the Warhammer 40k stuff for Amazon. He's the one running it. And it's basically GW's like, he's working with GW and Amazon. And the reason he's there is because he's the one keeping them. You can't do this, Amazon. It has to be close to this because it has to follow the law. That's why those shows taking ages. And it's like, Amazon's going to try and push back, but like, they're not going to do Space Marines. We know this full well. They won't do Space Marines first. As much as some people are going to want to see live action Space Marines, they're going to do something like Eisenhorn or Ravener or the Tanith First and Only. Like, these stories that are focused on humans.
Film, the only time you're going to see a Space Marine is end credit.
Yeah. Well, it's TV series that they're doing it. And Eisenhorn and stuff like Eisenhorn, Ravener, Tanith First and Only, stuff like those are all about like characters, like humans, not big Space Marines. These are about humans in this universe that's horrible, dark, and twisted. These are Ravener is like they're all characters that are so you're going to see the world, and they're the perfect shows to do because they focus on the smaller sector, on this one character and like his group of people, friends and stuff, and then you're introducing people to how the world works through this, and then eventually down the line, if you get the budget to make a movie, you can make a Space Marine style film with Space Marines and big budget because people have been introduced to the basics of this world through these TV series and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you don't start with Space Marines. You start with citizens, Imperial Guard, like Imperial Guard stories, like, because war film aficionados can relate to that. The Imperial Guard are normal humans fighting horrific monstrosities, basically, or other humans, basically. They are, normal humans, like, fighting, like, the military actually fights, if you know what I mean, but just on a grander scale. You get what I mean? Like, And that's the thing. You focus on that. If you focus on that, you establish this world in a way that people can relate to it. Then you introduce the Space Marines as side characters, or as like this character that only appears like a film. That this is like this avenging angel that kind of just solves like a big problem that they can't overcome. But then it's like you're establishing in this that Space Marines are rare, but not only are they rare, that when they appear, it's usually only in the worst situation, and they solve that situation. One of them solves it. They are not, or if you're seeing more than one, you know that shit's about to go south. You know what I mean?
Also, it removes the Halo problem, which is you having a show like Halo follow Spartan is dumb.
Like, I understand. Don't get me wrong. Master Chief is the main character of Halo. Like, I will never say he's not.
Yeah, and playing a game as a power fantasy is great, but when you're trying to watch an engaging story, he needs to be. You need to see everything through someone else's eyes.
Yeah, you need to see him as it's like it's why. Have you ever watched Halo Forward Unto Dawn?
Yeah.
Like the series that is the most perfect series for that.
It's a bunch of UNCs.
Yeah, UNSC Marines.
Hoping that they get saved, and then all of a sudden, it docks. It's like there's a Spartan on board.
Well, it's not that. It's not the docks. It's Forward Unto Dawn is the training camp one. It's the whole. It's the reason it works.
Oh, it's
the recruit. It's the
training, and they see him walk through at the end.
Yeah, it's where you don't get to see Chief all like a Spartan all until the final. Like you get to see one in like an earlier episode, like as when they get that footage of an insurrectionist of something going wrong. Like, why are they working with the insurrectionists? And then you see a Spartan, like and you can see the elite in the visor of the Spartan. Yeah, but then we don't actually see an actual Spartan, and it's Master Chief until the end of it, and he's only there for literally the episode in like for a couple of minutes, and it's literally he solves everything. He's the one that saves their lives, and it was, and that was like that's it. It's like and I'm like this is how you do these sort of big figures that you don't really want to feature in these films properly because they can't be main characters unless the thing they're fighting is just as strong. If you get what I mean. And most of the threats in the 41st millennium aren't actually as strong in the lore as a Space Marine one-on-one. Space Marines fight through like thousands of termagants before fighting like a Tyranid warrior, and they still beat the Tyranid warrior in combat, in hand-to-hand combat. Yeah. Like they're meant to have them. You need like the only thing that's equivalent to them is another Space Marine. Like in general, is another Space Marine. So it's like having them be the focal point. You kind of go, why am I watching this? He's just got plot armor. Whereas if you have a human, you've got. And because it's Imperium focusing on, like, say, it's the war series focusing on like the Imperial Guard in like a conflict, you're going to have soldiers dying left, right, and center. It's going to be violent. You're going to be realizing that these guys' lives mean nothing to the and you're getting like that sense of scale of how little the main character's life actually matters in this series. Like their life matters not, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
And you're getting that sense of scale. Like that's how that series is going to probably, and it's what we all hope is it will be focused on Space Marines, but not on people wanting to focus on Space Marines. Like, but I don't, because if you focus on Space Marines, it's not going to work.
No,
because you can't focus it on the power fantasy, and it's as sad as that sounds. You can't, because if you do, the movie's just boring. Without
as well, you need it. You need the person you're following to be someone that
you can relate to.
Actually. Only relate to, but they need to have an essence of will to survive.
Yeah. Whereas Space Marines' exact thing is that my duty is death before dishonor. Their whole thing is they're willing to die. Whereas a guardsman, they panic. Like a person's going to panic. They're going to want to try and run away and stuff.
Yeah, because it also builds not only relatability, but it builds an element of compassion.
Mm-hmm.
The character you're watching, when they are in danger and the fight's kicking off, them running away, you feel like, oh, let them get away, and then stand up to fight. So make sure you do it. You're going to win. But I say, if you're through the eyes of Master Chief or through the eyes of a Space Marine, it's well, all they can ever do is go forward shooting until they die. That is their role.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot less connection there. There's a lot less pathos to actually just following the character. There's a lot less interest.
No, yeah, it's not that. It's not that it's so. It's also not that it's like, oh, Master Chief is boring character. It's that without the human element as well, like it's also you need an everyman character in these sort of things. And the good thing is that the everyman character also works in the 41st Millennium, because you might know how your own world works in the 41st Millennium, but like the existence of chaos and, you know, like a lot of the aspects of the 41st Millennium, the average person doesn't even know that most aliens exist. They, as far as they know, that the only thing in the space in the universe is humans. You know what I mean? Like because of
also,
how
with a third-party character, the big spectacle of their life, their day, that moment is Spartan turning up or a Space Marine turning up.
Yeah, it's literally that guardsman
the
going.
most part of their life is them just standing there looking at their very armored knees.
Yeah. Whereas, yeah, for example, if the foe is following like a guardsman, for example, and the guardsman then sees a Space Marine, they're literally going to be like in reverence, going, "His angels," you know what I mean? And it's like it's that.
So it's not it's not watching a movie through the eyes of God. It's going to be a lot less interesting.
Yeah. Whereas they seeing it through the eyes of the person, it's aha! We're getting to watch. You know, you're getting to see everything.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to say goodbye this week. And we'll be back in 3 weeks' time, as I said before. This episode does, unfortunately. I'm not here for the next episode in 2 weeks' time, so we're back in 3 weeks. Okay. So I'm going to say goodbye.
Once the community service is over, we'll be back.
Yeah. Once community time's over, back in 3 weeks. Have a good time, and we'll see you next time on the Not Your Heroes podcast for episode 33.